Once again, I want to welcome you on this very channel, Ben Live. It's an honor to know you guys. You're watching us, and you've made it a point to be able to subscribe. But don't forget, do not only subscribe, make it a point to hit the notification bell every time you happen to subscribe. And also, it's so much important to like the videos and also post any of your comments, any submissions, any changes you would want us to do, anything that comes into your mind or inachayagala togereko that we've not yet talked about, kindly just put it in the comments section. And tonight on this very episode of Ben Live, I bring to you Dr. Ombeva Malande, and we've had him in the different series talking about the different things, talking about COVID, talking about child growth and monitoring. And well, today we have him to just share his story with us, his life experience. And he's Dr. Ombeva Malande is a vaccinologist, a pediatric but a senior consultant, and a pediatric infectious disease. Is also a lecturer at Malande University, also being a director of the East African Center for Vaccines and Immunization. I'm going to welcome him to say hello to us, and then eventually I'll dig deeper into his life story. You're welcome, Doctor.
Thank you so much. As she's kindly said, my name is Ombeva Malande. I'm a pediatrician, senior consultant, infectious diseases and vaccines. And I'm so happy to be able to join you today and just continue the conversation.
Thank you once again. And today we're being hosted by G1 Hotel along Lubaga Road. Kindly bypass and get to know what is it that they can offer, but just a little bit. They do all the hotel services. They have conference rooms. They have catering in and outside. They have a lot of things. They have these good gardens where you can come and just chill, and maybe take a cup of coffee or tea, wherever, So come through and then experience the best of the ambience they have as G1 Hotel. Getting into what we do have for tonight, holding this book is it reads The Reflections of Healthcare Workers Who Recovered from COVID-19. The guest I have tonight, he is a COVID recovery. What is it called, Doctor?
Some people say survivors.
Survivors,
Recoverer.
Yes. COVID. Whatever you call it. And I wouldn't want him to just go like that. He's going to tell us about his experience. And this is his book that we're also going to talk about. But well, it's about life story today. And I want to start asking him a few questions, those that have been following the different episodes we have, people tell us about what they've gone through, lessons learned, the challenges, and we relate. So Dr. Ombeva, I'll start by asking, it's going to get too personal. How is your life been as a doctor?
Thank you so much. Personally, what I do every day is I spend time treating children. So I treat children, I spend a lot of time talking to them, to the mothers, checking them, having them vaccinated, and then I teach at the university. So I also spend a lot of time there with the young people and just teaching them mainly medicine, child health, and vaccines. And when it gets to myself, I'm trained as a pediatrician and I teach at Malande University. I also run a practice at Namela. Namela is behind Forest Mall, where we also just continue the work of treating children. So if you are behind Forest Mall, there is Legends Rugby Club, and directly opposite it. I'm also the director of the East Africa Center for Vaccines and Immunization, and they also have an office in that same complex. So it's one big complex next to Safari Kindergarten. And I'm glad to get this opportunity to talk about this book mainly because this book contains my story, but it also contains the story of other healthcare workers who went through the experience of COVID-19. We have taken opportunity to not only narrate our experience as it were, but also talk about what can you do if you found yourself in a situation of suffering from COVID. So that may mean either you as a person getting infected, or you have a relative who has gotten COVID-19 and you want to, provide some support and help So this book is divided into 4 parts. The first part just looks at my story, my experiences, which I'm going to go into a little bit later. But also it also talks about, the second part talks about the testimonies and the experiences of other healthcare workers who went through COVID-19. And then the third part goes into the science of COVID. What is COVID? How does it arise? What are the many COVID variants? How do you do home-based care for COVID-19? What are the vaccines that are available? And what is the science behind those vaccines? Which vaccine should you choose? And then the last part goes into issues that relate to loss, to disease, to infirmity. How do you deal with a person with an experience of long-term disease, death, loss of a loved one? What is the Christian perspective on how one should deal with those? So that is the last part of this book. So that's I mean, in a nutshell, kind of an overview of what the contents of the book are. So how this happened is I was at work, because that's really how I think I contracted this COVID-19. It was from one of my clients. And at that time, towards the end of last year, around October, November, COVID was, we still didn't have a lot of information about it. Okay, we knew because lockdowns had started and things like those. But information was coming through, filtering through, not so much. And at that time, there wasn't so widespread use of masks, containment measures, and things like those. And so I get this patient, and I'm there attending, and treating, going about my daily work, really. But then get to realize that the mother of the child was coughing quite significantly. As you check the child was very sick. Just rushed in, was trying to stabilize the child, give oxygen, treat, do what, investigate, and try and figure out how do we go. Then I realized that the mother of this child is coughing quite significantly. And immediately I'm like, no. While I'm just treating this as a normal pneumonia or the other conditions that we usually see, could it be that this child is, more than just that? So, because the child was really, really sick and the oxygen levels were quite low. I asked the mother, have you been tested? Have you been checked for COVID? And what? He says, no. Yeah, and I decided, let's test. So that time even the testing was not so widespread. So I called the government people who do the testing, picked the samples, they checked. Lo and behold, the following day I realized that the child has COVID. The mother also had COVID. And now I realized I've gotten so exposed because I spent a lot of time with that child. It was a very sick child, and trying to stabilize and, steady them. And that is how I find myself with a patient who has COVID, and me having been very significantly exposed to this particular patient. And so now it was a matter of wait and see. Either you will contract it or you will not, because it doesn't mean that all people who are exposed to a case of COVID do suffer from COVID. Some may, some may not. And so it's out of that then that I find, a few days later I begin to develop cough, sore throat, fever. And then I decided, no, I need to do a test, because this flu that I had was just not going. Yeah, and so I decided to do a test. And when they test me, the result comes, lo and behold, you have COVID. It was scary. I mean, I've never been that scared, because we were hearing people in the US at that time, US, UK, the deaths were so many. You would hear 20,000 people have died, 15,000 people have died, 10,000 people have died. And then I realized that, no, this is what I'm dealing with is something different. Yeah, that's just how the COVID started. Of course, those were in the early days where I had the flu, the cough. But as we reached day 5, day 6, day 7, things started becoming even more serious. Then I got severe joint pains, severe muscle pains, a headache that would just not grow. It would throb from both sides, this side and this side, and it would get very, very severe throbbing, non-relenting kind of a headache. And so I went and saw some doctor friends, and I told them, this headache, even if I take Panadol, even if I take, it just is not going away. And that's when they decided to put me on injections. Actually, what saved me from that headache was the injections. And I used to get injections at up to about 2 or 3 every day to just keep the headache and that pain down. And that's how now I ended up progressing. There were a few days, some of those days in the nights when I got very bad difficulty in breathing and very bad chest pain, one that would be so debilitating and you feel like you are really deprived of oxygen. That was for about 2 or 3 nights before then I finally steadied out of it. Because remember, the phase where the oxygen levels go very low and oxygen tension is very high, those are the phases when most patients, it's what really decides whether the patient will either make it or not. How the patients go through that very difficult time of chest and oxygen, the high oxygen demand involvement. Yeah.
Still watching the Ben Live, and we want to now go into details of what is happening in this book. Just like you've heard how doctors have had COVID-19, we want to get to the roots of his survival, and but we would not want to skip the effects of him suffering COVID-19 towards the family, his work, being that he's so much in love with children. How did he feel when he was unable to attend to them?
Yeah, I think one thing, and when you'll read this book, you'll see, for those of you who'll be able to get your copy, when I narrate about here, I talk about two, tough things that you go through when you have COVID. In fact, now it's better now because we recommend home-based care and people can be at home and treated COVID. There were days when we didn't have any home-based care and you had to just be in the hospital. And that isolation was really tough. Staying away for 10 days, 14 days. In fact, I remember in the very, very first patients, the ones that we had at the hospital, when the relatives bring the person and they are at the gate, they stop there. They're told, you go home, we'll call you. And then the guy walks into that area where you'll be, totally isolated. And
alone.
Yes, and remember those days is that even the patients wouldn't be able to visit each other. You're in your room, they are locked there, the other one is there. So unless you have a phone or a computer or a laptop or a book that you are reading, that kind of loneliness can be quite debilitating. And the other thing, of course, is that the problem of stigma. Now people are getting a bit more knowledgeable about COVID, but the stigma, people looking at you and pointing fingers. I was talking to some colleague, one of my patients rather, the other day, yesterday actually. No, just the day before yesterday, and she was saying to me how she's a teacher and went back to school to her colleagues, and when they heard that she had COVID, now everybody, when they see her approaching, they put on a mask, they don't, and she's 3 months after the disease. That just tells you how big the stigma is, and it can be so debilitating to the person. So those are some of the things that was a challenge, and for me to be away from my patients and just feel helpless, knowing that you can't help them. There are people who called me to treat them when I was myself battling COVID and they had it, and I couldn't help them. It can get quite tough and quite helpless, particularly from the standpoint of my profession. Yeah.
So what was the most motivation for you to come up with such a book of surviving COVID-19?
Yeah, the biggest, and even that drove me to writing this book, is because I wanted to share my story to help many other healthcare workers to share. I actually realized I had friends and colleagues who had COVID, but they didn't want to talk about it. The stigma was so much. The healthcare workers didn't want to discuss their issue. I cannot tell you a story. How will we learn? We learn from one another. We learn from other people's experiences. We learn from other people's stories. And you'll see I've written it here. I said that my willingness and openness in sharing my story has given courage and comfort to many healthcare workers and ordinary citizens to share their experiences. So this book, not only has it served to provide a lot of information for people, has taught people about home-based care, has taught people about the variants, has taught people about available treatment options. The one important thing that it has helped to achieve is the fact that now people can openly talk about their situation. So it has helped significantly to lower the issue of stigma. People now see there and they're like, wow, Ombeva also went through COVID, he also battled it. And so they come up and they can tell their own stories here.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And to the health workers that are out there and you were not able to come through, this is a reflection of I wouldn't say what you went through, but if you go deep into this book, it will tell you that each one of us fights COVID differently. The struggle is different. Yeah, sometimes you don't express the same things, you don't go through the same things emotionally, you don't sometimes affect it the same. So it's mentioned in here, but well, we would still want to, when doctors say that he was interacting with a patient and then he thinks that's where he got the COVID-19. Doctor, what is your, should I call it, advice to the health workers out there that maybe they do not take precautions when working on these patients that put their lives at a risk of being exposed to whatsoever they are treating a particular patient?
Yeah, I think that there are two things to that. One is the fact to the point where everybody embracing the containment measures, that then would be important. Otherwise, if you see, like for a healthcare worker, you have two challenges. Either you are the one who has the COVID, or you have a patient who has the COVID. If you have a patient who has the COVID, for you, you come in, you give your guidance, you talk to the relatives, you do what, it can be a bit easy. When it is you yourself now who has to deal with the disease, you know about how bad this disease can get. You know about how worse the respiratory distress can be, or even dropping in oxygen. It can send you into a real panic mood. You go checking your oxygen and you find it is 60. You can go into a panic mood. Yet if you don't have COVID, if you checked and you found it 60, you say, okay, fine, I'll repeat again later, you know. So the point has been that not only has it been an issue of a new disease that we really didn't know much we can do about, but that a disease that has posed so many challenges to the healthcare system and to the healthcare workers. Every single day we have to figure out a new way and a new thing and a new thing. Yeah, because if we don't, we are doomed. We are doomed. Research has to continuously progress. We have to continuously figure out how best do I do home-based care, how best do I do this, how best do I prepare the other. Those are some of the issues we canvass in this book.
So, Doctor, I strongly believe that during that time there are a lot of lessons that you learned. As a person, for you yourself, and for the country or for the community. So what do you think of the lessons that you learned? Maybe you can echo some of them, the lessons that you learned during that experience.
So that's a good question. In terms of experiences that I had and the different lessons that I learned from this, one is that I learned to be thankful. Just to be thankful for life. This life is not obvious. The fact that you wake up in the morning, you can actually take your toothpaste and brush your teeth, and you don't go to brush your teeth and all of a sudden there is no sense of taste or no sense of smell in your mouth, in your nose rather. That is serious. You wake up tomorrow and you cannot smell. That becomes very serious. Or you cannot taste. So you can have a bitter thing on your mouth, tablet of quinine or something, but you feel nothing because the sense is lost. We have learned to appreciate the simple things of this life because they're important. Ultimately, they're important.
Thank you so much, Doctor. You're still watching the Ben Live, and I would still encourage you, kindly make it a point to subscribe, also like, hit the notification bell, but also your comment is so much welcome. Any thoughts, anything you would want to tell us, kindly just put them under the comment section. We're looking at the life of Dr. Ombeva Malande, focusing so much onto his survival after suffering COVID-19. And well, he has a lot of lessons, and even the different healthcare workers have gotten a lot of lessons, those that were able to come through alive. And holding it here, it's a book for Dr. Ombeva Malande that he was able to come up with, and it's very interesting. It has parts that you can choose to read one at a time. I'm going to, as before time leaves us, I want him to tell us how we can get the book, from where, what, such that someone, if they want to get in touch with a book, not you, but to read, because COVID is still here with us, and people have not yet well acquainted with the different ways of how to live.
So if someone wants to get, and I would really strongly encourage you, either get the book for yourself or get the book for your home library, or you can get the book for a friend, for a relative. And if you want to get in touch with us, this book is available on Amazon. This book is available on locally here. We have it at our offices. Even there at Forest Mall, there's some two pharmacies called Starbuck pharmacies. One is on the Forest Mall side, and the other one is on the game side in Lugogo. You can even get that this book there. Okay. The book goes for 50,000, but you can also get one directly from me, which is even autographed. The most important thing is the numbers. So it's on Amazon. If you go to Amazon and you just put in the
Surviving COVID-19,
you'll get it. If you can't go to Amazon to get the book from Amazon, you can. There are two numbers. One is 0774 06 8762. 0774 06 8762. And another number is 0775 324 799. 0775 324 799. And then again, like I said, you can be able to get it on Amazon. I'm going to provide later, I think they can put it up, the number for those who are in Kenya. Let me just, I don't know if I can get the number, or maybe it will be provided later.
Okay.
Yeah, for those who are in Kenya, they can also get the book there. So if you're in Kenya, you can get it there. It's even now a textbook center in Kenya, you can get it there. That's the biggest collection of textbook areas, even for schools and non-school material there at textbook center. And then we have we have it available here and on Amazon.
Yeah, you can have one just like I had one. Yes, this is my copy. You can also
And
secure
it's specifically
yourself a
autographed.
copy. It has an autograph, so you can also get yourself one that has an autograph from doctor, or you can go into the different places it's mentioned about and you get one. Well, he's this person who says, I'm so much interested in children. Like, I love them with all my heart, with all my passion. If you ever tell me to change to something else, I think I would never do that. And some of us growing up, we're like, oh, what should I become? A doctor? After doctor what? Okay, let him share his story. What inspired him to go into specifically for that pediatrics? What inspired him to go in for that, and how is it been for him? Is it been easy? Is it cheap? Okay, cheap, we always think in terms of money, but
I think it's cheap.
okay, you let us know.
Yeah, so after my training in undergraduate, I worked for some organization called the Kenya Medical Research Institute. And while working there is when I really developed my desire and passion for handling children. Yeah, and then after that is then how I end up with the university doing my master's in pediatrics. And at that time, when I was doing my master's in pediatrics, I got very close to one of our teachers who used to teach us infectious diseases. And there was kind of, should I call it an impartation or something? But I picked something from this teacher of mine. And this teacher of mine therefore inspired to go and study infectious diseases.
Oh.
So after I did my master's, then I went to Cape Town and did infectious diseases and vaccines. That's how my career was. And like I said, at opposite rugby is where the facility is. And we treat children, pregnant mothers, all those, where one can be able to find us.
Is it only for children? Is it only for children?
No. So there's a section. Yeah, it's a good question. So there's a section that is dedicated to general
medicine.
General medicine conditions. Then there's a section that is dedicated to children, and a section that is dedicated to mothers.
So if someone comes, it's one-stop center.
Yeah, so it's kind of, because you can be able to get a general doctor, you can be able to get a pediatrician, you can be able to get a gynecologist.
Okay, well, and then someone else there is like, abanene omulimo gw'abasawo. It's they usually say called to serve. It's like a calling or something. Chaffe twagala birimu sente. Doctor, someone that is like me, I really want to make money. That would love to be a musawo. What do you have to tell them?
So I think, anyway, thank you for that honesty from from the writer, because anyway, everybody's looking for money, you know.
Yes,
Yeah,
we want
people in
money.
the up and down of looking for money. But what I want to say is that I think ultimately in business, one has to look for a kind of service they can provide. Yeah. So figure out what is it you like to do most. Think about this service and ask yourself, can I be able to provide this service?
Okay.
If you think that yes, you are confident, then now you can be able to venture into that. The problem is this. If you go into something that your heart is not in, the day you don't have many patients, you'll be frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And medicine is frustrating. It's a very stressful profession. It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. You may need to sleep late. You may
Wake
need
up
to
early.
overstay in the hospital. You may need to, because you can't predict how somebody's child will wake up. Some parents come home, the kids are okay, they are playing. Then now you see one getting shivering and vomiting, just from nowhere. Or falls and slides and falls and breaks their leg. So one has to be really into this for the passion. And once you do that, the money begins to fall.
It has to be a passion.
It has to
Then
be a passion.
after-
It has to be something you really want to do.
Then after the money will come.
The money will come. It comes. If you do a good job, it comes.
Okay, doctor, are there any challenges like you faced in your profession?
Yes, there are many. There are many. I can't say that they were not there. One, I had a bit of a challenge raising the school fees. So, our problems are not any different from those of other, ordinary people. I had challenges with raising school fees when I was training, and then I had other challenges of bearing with the work. Medical school is busy. There is so much to be done.
Yes.
So those were things. But I still think that we should encourage our children and the generations that are coming after us to aspire to be doctors. Because there are still
To inspire them to be doctors?
yes, because there are still so many diseases we don't have treatment for, including COVID.
Okay, I'm really sorry to laugh about that. But if you're out there and your dream is, I want to be a doctor, please don't give up on your dream.
Yeah,
And,
hold on to it and just run with it.
But you know, most of us, this generation, we're very calculative. We'll be like, how much am I putting in? How much am I getting? Yeah, because you realize medical courses are very, very expensive and they take a lot of time. For example, someone doing a certificate and is doing it for 2.5 years, almost 3 years. Then a diploma, it's 3 years. And yet someone who's doing a bachelor's in any other course, it's 3 years.
Yeah, so
you're
you
like,
have to count your cost. Before you start the course, you have to count your cost. Don't just walk into the university and say, I want to do medicine. You have to be willing to go the whole journey. You're going to take 5 years of training here. In some universities, 6. Then you will have to be 1 year of
1 year
internship,
internship.
when you actually be trained as well. And then after that is when you are sent to be registered. So somebody has to decide, but they should carry the cross.
Okay, crying out loud, doctor. Just like you said, you struggled so much. Sometimes, yeah, you struggled for tuition and all that. But what do you think can be done to help? Okay, for today, we're focusing on to the medical people, yeah? Don't get whatever that we've not talked about you. What do you think the government can do to help boost this profession, like financially, or people that have interest but they don't have enough money for school?
Yeah, so that's a good question. All the government can do is to allocate sponsorships and bursaries, or support people who have intention of doing that. Because if you send a child to school, the person who has sent the child to school, the parent, has to pay school fees, isn't it? If the parent doesn't have school fees, the child will get some scholarship or some bursary or something. But it is the duty of the child to go to that school and work hard.
So they should work hard.
You see, you can pay your money to have the child go to school, but if the child doesn't want to go and do that, you don't get the reward. So the best thing would be, the parents will, of course, do their part, raise their kids, educate them, provide for them what they want. But even if that one is done, the children also have to have their own initiative and be willing to participate in it. Yeah. Otherwise, it becomes an exercise in futility. And when you have a course that is so long as 5-6 years, yeah, you don't need people who are mark timing, who are not so sure where they are standing.
You need to have people that are really sure.
No, precisely, I think so.
So, doctor, as a medical worker, yeah, just like you survived COVID-19 and maybe just like any other illness or condition that you've ever survived, and yet it was, I would say, you gotten it from your place of work. What is your appeal to the health workers out there when they are onto the line of duty as we wind up?
So, healthcare workers, and I think this is an important message to say, please embrace the vaccine. I feel sad when I hear that there are healthcare workers who are not vaccinated. They should embrace the vaccine for the simple reason that you don't know how you'll end up. What if you got COVID today? How do you progress? How will your recovery be? We already know that people who have underlying conditions are likely to suffer from severe disease. If they are not vaccinated, they could even die. Yeah. So the chance is not worth taking.
So they should get vaccinated.
Absolutely. And then yeah, I think that's to me that's the main thing. Get
About
the vaccine.
COVID, go out there, health workers, and be vaccinated. Well, we can do it. We can do this over and over and over, but time is not on our side, and we really want to get done with this. I'm just going to ask Dr. Ombeva Malande to kindly give us a few concluding remarks in just like less than a minute. Then we shall be getting off this place.
Yeah. So I need to say a few things in terms of concluding remarks. One is that many healthcare workers have put their ideas and thoughts here. This book does not only contain my thoughts, it also contains the thoughts of other doctors. It also contains the ideas of other doctors, not just mine alone. The other doctors also have their contribution here. The information that we have in this book can be very useful for you, for your relatives. They can read it, and they don't have to you don't have to say that, no, me, I'm not a good reader, me, I'm not. No, it's a book it's written in very simple English, and you can read it when you are relaxing, wherever you are relaxing.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is one thing. Get the book either for yourself or for a loved one. Now, I know the numbers will be provided, but then again, my number 0774 068762 and 0775 324 799. These are numbers you can contact and be able to get yourself a book. Now, secondly, it's not just about their reflections and stories of what they suffered. The book also has very useful information, very many journals and articles that are very nice that we wrote. It also has information on how do you deal with the loss, how do you deal with the COVID, how do you deal with, things like those. So it's a minefield of information. But above all things, it's a book that I would really encourage the viewers to get themselves a copy.
You are encouraged to get yourself a copy. Kindly invest in knowledge and you'll never ever be disappointed. Sometimes we invest in things that don't add on to us value, or they don't contribute anything, yeah? But if you can invest in something that adds value on you, trust me, you're not going to remain the same. And reading this is going to add value on you. So make it a point to secure yourself a copy, and then we shall be very delighted. And so if you're watching this and you've not well gotten the numbers, just put us into the comment section that, what gift I would need that book. Then we shall be reading the comments, and then we shall make it a point to make sure that you get hold of this book at only 50,000 shillings. We've been watching the Ben Live, and we've been hosted by G1 Hotel along Lubaga Road, a place where you can have the best of your evenings, the best of your nights. Yeah, those that want to sleep in good beds, and you can't have good beds in your home, just come and enjoy the good beds here, yes. So for anything, is it weddings, is it any showers, bridal, birthday, anything that you would want to do, please come and have G1 Hotel for your event. It has the best, the prices are really very friendly and costly. So make it a point to bypass and get to know much about G1 Hotel. As I wind up, I would want to say thank you. Oh, yes, doctor.
Yeah, I think one other thing that I said, apart from the numbers that I gave, this book can be found at our offices. Like I said, it's at Naguru. opposite Legends at Namela Healthcare. And you could also bring your children there, or even pregnant mothers, like I said. There's a very good gynecologist there, and there's a general physician there. So, I mean, it's like a
Stop
one-stop
center.
center for the whole family. So
Okay.
you can come there. The other thing is that if you can't get it there, if you go to Game or Forest Mall in Lugogo, there are two pharmacies there. There's a pharmacy in Game called Silverbacks. There's a pharmacy also in Forest Mall called Silverbacks. Those pharmacies also have this book. You can get the book from there. Or you can call any of those numbers and we'll provide you with the book. We deliver the book. If you call, it can be delivered.
Thank you so much, Doctor, and to the health workers out there. Thank you so much for the great work you're really doing. We do appreciate you, and if you are inspired to become one, please kindly go ahead. But just like Doctor told you, you have to put in so much, not only money, but your time, your everything has to be into you studying any medical profession well. Why not just wish you the best of your either evening, day, is it night? What time are you watching us? We wish you the best of your time. Yeah, may God bless you all. Till next time, I remain Gifty Nakainga on the Ven Live. Wish you well all.